Hello there, Full Size here with another video on space engineers. Today I'm going to be covering a weapons platform that I've developed. This little guy over here. It is a Gravity Torpedo launcher, and I'll get into the working details here in a minute. I've got a few targets set up around here, starting with this target right here. Now this target is 9 layers thick of heavy armor with red X in the middle. Now what I'm going to shoot that with is one of the torpedo launchers that's right over there by that antenna, 15K away. So let me just go into observer mode and zip over there. The reason it's 15K away is because I have render distance on this server set at 15K. It can shoot incredibly farther, 100K away if you wanted to, but it's hard to shoot at something that you can't see. So I'm at the maximum render distance right now. Alright, I teleported my character over here, and it's going to take a little while for that torpedo to travel 15K. If you're on a server or in whatever game you're playing, you don't have a speed mod, then the maximum speed that your torpedo can travel is going to be 100 meters a second. If you have speed mods, well, obviously it goes up from there. Now in order to fire the torpedo, first of all, if you notice on my shortcut bar down here, I've got 2 timer blocks and a camera. The camera, as you may have guessed, is for aiming. So I'm viewing the camera. There's zoomed out, there's zoomed in. The camera, you may notice, has a camera mod on it. Normally you just have that white X, but if you notice that white X is kind of up and to the right of center, for some reason the crosshairs on the camera are not centered. They're not on the center of the screen, and they don't correspond to where you're actually aiming. So this camera mod, which I'll put a link to in the description for the video, and also in the description of the blueprint uploaded for the ship. Okay, so you can get the camera mod too if you want, but you don't really need it. The only reason I'm using it right now is to demonstrate this at an absolutely extreme range for sniping. Normally in a fight you're not going to be 15K away from somebody, you're going to be hopefully 1 to 5K away, at which point the deviation of the default crosshair isn't that bad. You can use it to aim. Okay, so again, you can use the camera mod if you want, but you do not need any mods at all to use this torpedo launcher. Okay, it's completely vanilla. So in order to fire a torpedo, all I have to do is hit the number 1 key. That activates the firing sequence, runs a series of timer blocks, projects a new torpedo, activates the welders, and welds it up. So now the torpedo is ready to go. But I don't want to fire more than one right now. I'm going to go back into Observer, and we're going to go down here to our target. Probably even see our torpedo on the way by. Yep, there goes the torpedo right there. I'm going to zip on past it. Alright. I'm also going to have a link for this world before I blow stuff up, so if you want to download the world and come in here and play around with it, you're more than welcome. Alright, teleport my player here, control player. Alright. As you can see, I've got a little station here set up for this target block to reload them easily. If you want, you can detach that target block, make a blueprint of it too for other use or for repeated use here, but that's what this little station is about. And I've got another camera set up here, so let's just see. Yep, there comes the torpedo. You see it kind of glistening up and to the right a little bit of center. So that'll be here right away. Now this target block again, let me pull out my welder. You can see it is heavy armor blocks all the way through, 9 blocks thick. I don't know anybody that puts 9 layers of heavy armor all the way around even a battleship. It's just not done. Here comes our torpedo, and see if we can track it in. Boom! Look at that gaping hole. And look at that, we see stars on the other side. It shot all the way through 9 solid layers of heavy armor. Look, I'm using my welder on the wall. Well, I'm not welding, but you can see it's heavy armor. That's all heavy armor. 9 layers. Yeah. Alright, so that's pretty impressive. Pinpoint accuracy 15 kilometers away. I mean, if that doesn't show you right there how powerful this weapon system is, I don't know what will. But I got a couple other targets here. There is the standard red ship that probably everyone's seen because they give it to you free in one of the startup modes. I think it's the Easy Start Space or Easy Start Asteroid or something. Anyway, I think everyone's probably seen the red ship. It has light armor on it. But the reason I want to demonstrate on it is because someone might think, and I kind of thought the same thing at first, well, that's heavy armor over there and it's solid, okay? It's going to do more damage on solid. What about shooting a real ship that has air gaps in it and different components and stuff like that, okay? So, I'm going to fire a shot into this red ship here, see if I can take out that thruster right there. Again, to fire the torpedo, all you have to do is hit the number 1 key. And boom, we have a hit. Alright, I'm going to hop out, fly over here, and we will see what kind of damage that did. God, that's a big hole. Can you even imagine? Oh my God. It went all the way through and out the other side. Look at that hole. And whatever components were in here are gone. That is one single shot. In one side, out the other, huge gaping hole. Now, can you imagine, you didn't even see the guy coming maybe, or maybe you just got into a fight, you're not even in missile range yet, and a giant gaping hole like that appears in your ship. I think most people would probably cry hacks. They'd be like, I had a malfunction, or you're hacking, or something, because no weapon can do that. But it can. There it is. Alright. So, that's against light armor. Let's fire a couple more shots into this. I think the jump drive on this ship is back there towards the back. Yep, there's the jump drive right in there. Oh, that took out that other large thruster too. I'm not sure what other components might have been in there. Oh, there went the other forward thruster and the jump drive is gone. 3 shots into that ship. It is crippled. It can't jump. It's got forward and back thrusters on the far side. It's got a big hole in the middle. It probably isn't even getting components to wherever it needs to go or power or whatever. I don't know. That's crazy. Alright, so now this Star Destroyer over here, I found this on the forums. It is made out of heavy armor all around. So I'm going to demonstrate rapid fire mode. Alright, now you're probably thinking, like I thought, oh well, that ship's holding still, of course you can hit it. What if it's moving? Alright, so you set the thing on rapid fire mode. That's the number 3 shortcut. Turn that timer block on. Now that doesn't start it firing, that just sets it to repeat. So to fire, you hit the number 1 key again, but you don't have to keep hitting number 1. It's going to keep firing as long as that number 3 block is on. Alright, so here we are. We're in combat. They're moving around. Let's say they've even got some pretty crazy thrusters, and you put it into rapid fire mode. Maybe you've even got somebody else driving your ship, and it's hard to keep aimed on this thing. Oh, but there's a hit. Oh, yeah. And as soon as it gets another one built, finishes its cycle, fires another shot. And it's common in battle. You're not going to hit the same spot over and over unless you completely caught them by surprise. But if you caught them by surprise, you're probably going to go in there and try to take over their ship rather than just blowing it up. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. Alright, so I'm going to turn off the number 3 block. Stop repeat mode. And let's fly over here and look at this one. Alright, so that first shot went all the way through, blew several holes out the backside, destroyed all these components in the middle. Second shot didn't go all the way through, doesn't look like, but still trashed a lot of components in here. Looks like it may have taken out some cargoes. This gutted their engine room, it looks like. Still has some engines, but it's suffering pretty bad. Let's just go out the backside. Look at those holes all the way through it. 3 out of the 5 shots that hit, no, 4 out of the 5 shots that hit, tore holes all the way through. One single shot, destroying both layers of armor and every component in between. Have you ever seen a more powerful weapon with that kind of rapid fire capability, with that cheap of a build cost for every projectile? There's only 7 blocks here. 7 blocks, that's it. And I also, in the blueprint, I put 4 cargo containers on here, and each of these cargo containers has some components in it. So with these components, and you can use this, I mean, write down the numbers if you want to keep track of them, set up a script to build stuff if you want, whatever. But it's got enough components in there to build 50 torpedoes. So even in survival mode, you can play with that quite a bit just from the components in there, assuming you spawned it in. Otherwise, you're just going to have to actually build the components. This blue section over here, all these blue blocks, you don't need those for the ship. That's just basically a bare bones ship so that you can play around with it in this world, or if you spawned it into your own world, you can play around with it, shoot some stuff, drive it around a little bit. This isn't meant to be a ship, okay? The idea is you spawn this in creative, or you build it with a projector on a server, you cut off these blue blocks and recycle the parts, and then you attach this part of the torpedo launcher to an existing ship, or create a ship around it if you want, whatever. So I'm going to demonstrate over here how easy it is to do that. Now, you should have subscribed to, if you read the description at all, both the torpedo launcher and the torpedo. They are separate entities, okay? And that's going to be important here in a minute. But first, let me just delete this blue section here that I said you don't need. Alright. Now this is the torpedo launcher, bare bones. It will not operate like this because it doesn't have a power supply. Okay? You might be able to fire a single shot off the power from that battery, but I don't think it'd go anywhere because as soon as it detaches, the generators are going to turn off. So we really need to attach it to a ship with a power supply. So I go ahead and build a conveyor block there. And let's see. Alright, there's a conveyor block there underneath these missile launchers. Alright. It doesn't matter where or how. All you've got to do is tie your conveyors, or your conveyor system that's going to be able to supply this with parts, to the welders. Okay? So I'm doing it through these cargo containers. You can even get rid of them if you want. It doesn't really matter. And this isn't going to be real pretty, but again, it's just a basic demonstration in case you don't already know how to do this. And if you do know how to connect the ship, you still might want to stick around for another minute, and I'll get into how to set up the firing sequence. Oh, whoops, I need the merge block, yes. Alright, so there's a merge block there, there's a merge block there. And if I were going to attach this onto the ship for real, I would probably put it back under the center, or maybe on one of these recessed sides, maybe even on a piston, so that I could retract it when I'm not in battle and extend it out so that it had a clear line of sight when I was in battle. I wouldn't put it up on the nose, but again, just demonstrating how to attach it and set it up. Alright, so now into third person view, and I want to carefully line up that merge block. Hope I don't bump it. If you bump it, it's just going to go flying. It can be messy. But if you're good at using third-person view, driving your ships, it's not really that hard. And if you're worried about bumping it when you're doing something like this, grab another small ship, a fighter, a welding ship, something with a landing gear on it, and attach it to the torpedo launcher via the landing gear so that you won't accidentally bump it away, okay? That way the inertial dampeners on your small ship will hold it still. Okay, so now these merge blocks are connected. That means these two blocks, as far as the game is concerned, are welded together, alright? So you can delete these, you can recycle the parts, whatever. You don't need them anymore. And you can also build an armor housing around this. Let's say you did want to leave it right on the front of the ship. That's fine. Okay? But if you build an armor housing, don't build it in too tight. Okay? Leave a little bit of a gap around it. At least one block gap all the way around the torpedo. And you don't technically need that gap. If you're holding still and you fire the torpedo straight forward at something else, then you're fine. But if you happen to be turning your ship while you're firing a torpedo, depending on how fast you're turning, the tail end of the torpedo could hit your armor if it's right in here close. Let's see, if it's like that around it, okay? If you're turning at all, it's going to hit. That might make it turn inside the launch tube, and it might make it break off your welders. So don't risk it. Give it one gap all the way around. You should be fine. Unless you've got an insane amount of gyro stabilizers and you're turning ridiculously fast. But just know that you don't want to be turning the ship hard while you're firing. It could cause problems. Alright, so back inside, we've got this attached up. Now, to keep from wasting any parts, there is a slight game glitch that you just have to compensate for. And that's why I have a separate download for the torpedo. Okay? With this ship by itself, you can go ahead and use it as is. But once you attach it to another ship, like I did here, for some reason it messes up the projector. Okay? The projection is still being projected, but after you fire the second torpedo, it won't fire anymore. So if you have this problem, refer back to the step, because you shouldn't have skipped it in the first place. So before we do anything, we're going to go into the menu, we're going to search for the projector, and that's projector Grav Torp, and turn it on. Okay? Go down to your blueprints, and then find the blueprint that you should have also subscribed to, which yours won't look like this. It'll have a little Steam symbol for it because you subscribed to it, right? But it's called Grav Torp 1.0, blah, 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 whatever. Nobody, okay? Now, the reason it says nobody in the name is because the ownership of every component of the torpedo is set to nobody. Alright? If you want ownership of every block on your ship to be set to you, which doesn't matter for the functionality of the torpedo launcher, but if you want it set to you, you need to change the ownership of everything on the launcher, and also spawn in or build one of these torpedoes and change the ownership of everything on it to you, and then create a new blueprint of it. Otherwise, when the projection is spawned in, it's going to be set to nobody, and your merge blocks aren't going to work. Okay? So, for right now, I'm just going to assume that you're leaving everything on nobody. Alright? So find your blueprint for the torpedo, which again, should be at the bottom of your list and have a Steam symbol by it. But just type in the name, Gravity Torpedo, you'll find it. Hit OK, and that's it. Alright? That resets the blueprint so that the fact that we merged it doesn't create a problem. I'm going to go find the torpedo. I don't really have to turn it off. It doesn't matter that it's on because the next time you fire it, it's going to turn off automatically. But in case you're doing this on a server, they've got rules against leaving projectors on for long periods of time. Just go ahead, go back into the menu, and turn the projector back off. Alright? Now, we need to set up our firing sequence. So, again, you're in your flight seat or cockpit, whatever you're using. Hit G to go to your shortcut menu and type in timer grav 1. That should bring up a single timer block called timer block 1 grav torp. Right click it, don't double click. If you double click, it's going to create a shortcut to turn it on and off. That's not what we want. Right click the block and select the trigger now option. Go back to the search and type in camera grav. That should bring up a single camera called Camera Grav Torp. Right click it and select the View option. go back to the search, type in timer auto. Unless you have other timers called timer auto, you can also do timer auto grav. That'll refine your search even better. And this one, we do want to simply toggle on and off. So you can either double left click it or right click and select toggle block on off. That's all you've got to do to set this thing up. That's it. So we're going to go into third person view, have a look over here, and you're good to go at this point. You don't need to waste any components by firing some test torpedoes, but I'm just going to fire a couple of them to demonstrate that that's how it's working. So I hit number 1, fired a torpedo, it stops, it's ready to shoot again. I hit number 1, it fires another torpedo, and that is where it glitches out if you don't reset the blueprint. It won't build that second torpedo for whatever reason. I don't know why. So just to double check, I'm going to turn on auto fire mode, hit number 1, and see if it can fire a couple on its own. So there you have it. It's set up properly. I'm going to hit number 3, turn off the auto fire function, and that's it. That's all you got to do. From there, it's up to your creativity. How are you going to install it on your ship? How are you going to protect it from enemy fire? You could even set up more than one of these. I haven't gotten around to doing it yet, but I kind of envisioned having like a long cylindrical battleship type thing with several of these facing out one side. So it's like the old traditional wooden Navy broadside cannon thing. There's really a lot of things you can do to be creative with this, but that's the basic gist of it. That shows you how to attach it to a ship and how to set up the commands for it. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you liked the weapon. Please leave comments if you did. That definitely encourages me to make more videos. I put a video up and tons of people tell me, oh, I like that, but if I don't hear that, then I don't know, and I go on to do other things. And I think that's true of a lot of videos and video makers. So yeah, please leave your comments. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and let me know what else you'd like to see. Thank you very much, and y'all have a good day.